Thanks very much, Anna Maria. Yeah, thanks very much for the invitation to be here to present INSPIRE, which is the European Centre of Excellence on Inclusive Gender Equality in Research and Innovation. I'll try and be quick because I think everyone is tired at the end of the day, but it's been really, really interesting today to hear about both CALIPER and LeTSGEPs implementing institutions' experiences of the whole GEP process, from design, implementation, monitoring and evaluation. There's been lots of common ground spoken about. I'll speak a little bit about the project, about INSPIRE. There we go. I'll speak a little bit about the project. I'll concentrate really on the methodology of the project. I'll speak a little bit about the knowledge and support hubs that we heard about from Carolina in this afternoon's session. I'll also speak a little bit about the research we've carried out so far, as well as the future planned research activities and the communities of practice that we will support throughout the project. So this is a little bit about the call information. The INSPIRE proposal responded to the call, the Videra 2021 call. It's a research and innovation action. It started on the 1st of October 2022, so we're just over a year into the project. It's a 4-year project and it will finish on the 30th of September 2026. The main objective, well, it's quite ambitious. We spoke about ambition earlier today. So it's to establish a world-class European Centre of Excellence to streamline access to knowledge and expertise across research and innovation throughout the European research area, as well as providing thought leadership and direction in the design, implementation and evaluation of inclusive GEPs from an intersectional perspective. So the call defines inclusiveness in terms of these 3 different levels. So firstly, in terms of taking an intersectional approach, so how does gender intersect with other categories of discrimination and privilege? So, for example, disability, age, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, but also taking, we're talking about sectorial inclusiveness as well. So to better address innovation in the private sector, women are particularly underrepresented in the private sector, and this also has implications in terms of inclusive gendered innovations. And we also recognise inclusiveness in terms of geographical inclusiveness. So taking into consideration that some member states have been much more active in terms of gender equality policies in research and innovation than others. So the call outcome, well, really, it's not just about advancing knowledge, but it's about advancing policy as well as practice. Now, this is really important if we think about in terms of impact, having a real impact. This is our research, this is the INSPIRE consortium. So we're 14 different partners from 10 different European countries, and we also have a Latin American partner. From Argentina, we have Flaxo in the consortium. And in terms of the methodology, we're taking this sort of 2-track approach to building up the evidence base. Well, we want to build up the evidence base in terms of knowledge. So this is really in terms of inclusive GEPs. How can we really build on the knowledge that's been created in terms of institutional change for gender equality in research and innovation over previous decades, but extend this to other axes of discrimination? So, you know, the real question or the real know-how that we want to build up is how to develop gender equality plans from an intersectional perspective. But as I already said, we don't want to just build up the knowledge base. We also want to provide support for institutions that are engaging in this journey. So the idea is that we develop capacity and competences through practice, and communities of practice have proven an effective mechanism to help institutions throughout the change process. So we're really building on our experience in the ACT project, where we supported 8 different communities of practice that pushed forward gender equality in research and innovation organisations. These are the different work packages. We're responsible for management at the Open University of Catalonia. We have the strategic analysis and steering work package. This is work package 2, which is just finishing. This was coordinated by Notos in Barcelona. We have work package 3, which is really where we carry out all the empirical research, where we try and build the evidence base for GEP implementation and institutional change. This is led by the University of Redbound in the Netherlands. And we have work package 4, which is where we create the knowledge and support hubs, as well as support the communities of practice. This is led by Joannium Research in Austria. We have the technical and logistical infrastructure, which is led by our Greek partner, InnoSystems. And then we have Southern Denmark University, which leads work package 6. This is really providing open training units and support packages for the different institutions. And work package 7, which is led by Europa Media in Hungary. Now, through Inspire, we take this really sort of distributed approach to knowledge creation. So we've structured it in this way. We have 4 different knowledge and support hubs that Carolina mentioned in the session earlier, in our 4 main thematic areas. So the first thematic area is sustaining change. And this is really looking at how do you sustain the change process. So, for example, if a top leadership team in a university changes, how do you still push forward change? What are the different resistances that you might find within the institution? And then we have widening participation. This is really looking at how to build on and tap into local contextual knowledge and experience to kickstart the change process. And then we have the intersectional knowledge and support hub. This seems to be the big unknown. So how do we operationalise intersectionality into gender equality plans? And then we have the innovation knowledge and support hub. So how do we really promote inclusive gendered innovations? And I should say that each of these knowledge and support hubs are led by leading academics, but also practitioners, leading practitioners in the field, people who have had real experience in pushing forward change processes. And so beyond our consortium members, each of these knowledge and support hubs also have 4 external experts that are attached to these knowledge and support hubs. So we're trying to reach out beyond the consortium. And each of these knowledge and support hubs will also support 3 different communities of practice, which will be on average about 8 different research organisations that are working together to push forward institutional change in their own institutions. So what have we done so far? In terms of research, all our deliverables that we've produced so far are actually we've published them on Zenodo. It's all open access. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, they'll actually be on our web page. But so far we've produced 6 scoping reviews to try and see where we are. And these different scoping reviews that we've produced we've produced 1 for each of these knowledge and support hubs. We produced 2 for the widening participation, because 1 looked at widening participation within Europe and another looked at widening participation in Latin America. We produced 1 scoping review on sustaining change, 1 on intersectionality, 1 on gendered innovations, and also another one on data monitoring. So these scoping reviews highlighted these main gaps in the evidence base. So in terms of sustaining change, it looked, these are some of the themes and the discussions that we've had throughout the day. So, the limited and inconclusive research on the actual impact of interventions on gender and diversity, and how this can be a real barrier to pushing forward to change. And also in terms of how resistance is difficult to measure. So how do you measure or even identify like a non-performative commitment? So in theory, equality might be supported, but if clear actions are not taken, how do you register this? What is the role of privileged? that can be reproduced through silence. In terms of widening participation, it's been identified that the lack of access to institutional data on gender equality is a real barrier to push forward change. And in terms of also the difficulties of mobilising gender expertise. And in terms of intersectionality, how the absence of data collection on how multiple discriminations intersect and then are reproduced through institutional processes and procedures. And then again, what does a GEP with an intersectional perspective even look like, and what data needs to be collected, and what type of actions need to be developed? And then what indicators should be used to measure change? And in terms of innovation, well, there's not been much work on gendered innovations in the private sector. And what are the key indicators for inclusive gendered innovations? So we've summarised some of this work into a policy brief that we've developed. This is sort of a summary of some of the main themes that we've identified in the scoping reviews. And so we're using this first stage of the project to then take forward the empirical research that we've got planned. So these are the main research activities that we're going to be engaging in over the next few years. So we're talking about indicator development in terms of GEP prevalence, implementation and impact. We're going to carry out a survey at the European level, as well as developing web crawling, web scraping action to really bring together to look at what sort of actions are being developed in gender equality plans. We're also taking forward some of the work we carried out in the ACT project, where we developed the GIAM tool, which is an institutional survey with different modules that different institutions can adapt. We're going to look at expanding this to public administration, as well as including a module for students. We're also going to carry out 35 case studies on GEP success and meaningful change. This is what we're responsible for at the Open University of Catalonia. And we're going to carry out 10 in-depth case studies on EDI policies and R&I, as well as 4 case studies on regional policies for gendered innovations. This will be accompanied by the emphasis on support. So we've just closed we had an open call for communities of practice. This has just closed. We had quite a lot of interest. As Carolina said, we had a lot more interest from higher education institutions and R&I organisations, and not so much from the private sector, which was not really surprising. But it was interesting because we've received lots of applications from beyond our networks, which I think is a really important sign that there's a real will for change. The COPs will start collaborating from March 2024, and each of these communities of practice will have access to different support packages. This includes tailored individual expert support, as well as more general access to open training units that we're in the process of creating. So we also, throughout the project, we also recognise all this expertise that's been created throughout structural change projects. And so we're creating a database where experts, gender equality experts, people who've been involved in structural change, will create a database where institutions, we can match people with certain expertise with institutions that need that kind of help. So, yeah, this is all planned. So watch this space. So lots of exciting activities, and thank you very much.